because we are promoting a lot of development, we want to make sure that that development is well designed. So for that reason, the plan endorses design guidelines. The Community Redevelopment Agency is right now working on 2 design guidelines, one for the area around Hollywood Boulevard and the other for the area around Sunset Boulevard. When these are complete, I think it will be sometime this summer, the CRA board will approve them, and then they will go to the City Planning Commission for a recommendation. And ultimately, after they are adopted, they will be implemented by design overlays. We have a lot of valuable historic resources in Hollywood, and we want to protect them. There are several historic surveys going on right now. One inside the redevelopment area is being conducted by the Community Redevelopment Agency, and then Survey LA is being conducted by the Office of Historic Resources, and they're looking at buildings outside of the redevelopment area. The CRA survey should be done sometime this summer, and the Survey LA survey sometime after that. So you're probably asking, so what if your property is located in an FAR incentive area, and one of these surveys happens to find that you have a building that appears to be eligible for listing on the National Register? What does that mean? You can still develop your property, you can still use the FAR incentive, but you have to work with the Office of Historic Resources, get their approval, and just proceed a little bit more carefully because we don't want to compromise these historic resources. Another goal of the plan is to make the streets walkable. We want to have, we believe that in the future we'll have more people in Hollywood and more people walking. So we want to have streets that are beautiful, walkable, and nice and wide to the extent feasible. A lot of the streets in Hollywood are built out to the previous standard, not the current standard, and the previous standard allowed wider sidewalks of 15 feet. So we realized that in some instances, the previous standards were actually better than the current standard. So we initiated this study, and we took a look at all the majors and secondaries to figure out on a block-by-block basis what were the most appropriate standards. And in case you don't know, all streets have a standard, and the standard is what determines how wide the sidewalk is and how wide the roadway is, kind of like zones for streets. And most of the streets are not built out to their full standard, and in many cases they're way out of whack. The way that the city widens a street is that they secure dedications each time a parcel turns over. And when enough of those dedications have been obtained and assembled, the widening will occur. As you can imagine, this is actually almost just a theoretical exercise because development doesn't happen fast enough for this to occur very often. And we have historic buildings that are not going to move. We have small parcel sizes, and real estate is very expensive. So in many cases, we have standards that are just not very, very realistic. So we wanted to try to come up with some street standards that we thought were more real. And in many cases, that meant making the standard match the existing dimension of the street. Here's the current standard for a major. A major would be Vine, Hollywood, or Sunset. 104 feet right-of-way, 12-foot sidewalk, 80-foot roadway. And for the secondary, which would be at Hillhurst or Franklin, that's a 90-foot right-of-way with a 10-foot sidewalk, 70-foot roadway. And here are some of the typical modifications that we proposed. For the major, keep it at the historic standard, which was 100-foot right-of-way with a 15-foot sidewalk and a 70-foot roadway. That's the way that many of our majors are right now. And this is one way of protecting the walk of fame, because that's the way Hollywood is built up. But this is a typical modification that we made for a secondary, keeping the right-of-way the same, but making a bit of an adjustment in the sidewalk to make the sidewalk 12 feet instead of 10. And here's just a couple shots that make the point of what we were trying to do. This is Los Feliz Boulevard to the west of Vermont. The roadway is 40 feet there, but the standard is for 70. And if this street were to be built out to its standard, we would lose 15 feet off of those very beautiful parkways. We don't want to do that to our scenic highways. And here this is Vine Street north of Hollywood Boulevard. And here, if this street was to be built out to its standard, we would lose 5 feet off of the Walk of Fame. And the Walk of Fame is an icon, it's a historic cultural monument, we don't want to do that. And these modified standards are a way of maintaining the parkways that exist and trying to get some more parkways. Parkways are the green landscape strip in between the sidewalk and the roadway. This not only helps with making the streets more attractive, but it also helps with groundwater management and keeps us sustainable. And on our measures, we're trying to hang on to those 15-foot sidewalks and try to find opportunities to get more of them. And this is Vermont at the Sunset and Vermont Station. You can see that the 15-foot sidewalk here is very necessary and very well used. Maybe now that we have a new bike plan that was adopted, we won't see so many bicyclists on the highways, but I thought this was a very good picture of the sidewalk that's being used. And here's a map of our modified street standards. All the dotted lines are where we're proposing modifications. So if you want to read up on us and get all of our information, it's online. Go to the city's website, www.lacity.org. Sometimes it can be a little bit confusing getting in there. And we do have flyers out in the front that have this address as well. We do have CDs that have the draft plan and the draft DEIR. We have some on the table out there, or you can also come to the planning department and purchase them, $7.50. And remember to submit your comments by June 1st. And there's my email, my number, and the comments about the plan go to me. Comments about the EIR go to Jamal with Verona. And there's